Yes, hello. My name is Arild, and thank you, Robertas, for the invitation and the presentation, and so nice to see you again. I would like to start by saying thank you for the invitation to attend this conference with the important topic and the opportunity to participate in the Nordic-Baltic cooperation. I work as a senior advisor for the Norwegian Directorate for Education and Training. And the Directorate has the overall responsibility for supervising kindergarten education and the governance of the education sector, as well as the implementation of acts of parliament and regulations. And the Directorate is responsible for all national statistics concerning kindergarten, primary and secondary education. And on the basis of these statistics, it initiates, develops, and monitors research and development. The objective of the Directorate is to ensure that all children, pupils, and apprentices receive the high quality education that they are entitled to. As Roberta said, my primary tasks in the Directorate is working with bullying and children's well-being in kindergartens and schools. And among other tasks, I am the secretariat leader of the partnership, which I will come back to a little bit later in this presentation. And it was very interesting to hear Morten and Magnus speaking about the Swedish perspectives. And I'm not saying that we have the answers to all the questions they pose, but as you will see later on in this presentation, we might have some suggestions at least. So I'm here today to talk about the topic how to fight bullying in schools, and more specifically about some of the national policies that strengthen the national framework against bullying in Norway. Firstly, I would like to add that even though the topic of this conference and also the topic of this talk is about schools, more and more focus are given to early interventions. So I hope you will notice that most of our national policies also involve working with kindergartens. The national policies in Norway do not exist in a vacuum, and it's important to know a little bit about the Norwegian context. So I will start by showing you some numbers that's meant to provide some background for the national measures to fighting bullying in kindergartens and schools. It's also important for you to know to be able to compare and contrast the different education systems. Starting with kindergartens, there is a national goal in Norway of a full kindergarten coverage. And basically this means that all families who want to attend kindergarten has the right to. This in turn leads to a very high number of kids attending kindergarten, and 9 out of 10 children of preschool age attend kindergarten as of now. The main part of the children start, almost 70% start as early as when they are 1 year old. We have a mix in Norway of communal and privately owned kindergartens, and out of almost 6,000 kindergartens, roughly half of them are privately owned. If we look at the education level in the Norwegian kindergartens, we can see that about 40% of the employees are educated as kindergarten teachers, which is a bachelor lasting for 3 years. But we can also see that 1/3 of the work staff is without higher education or educated as skilled workers. In the kindergartens in Norway, we have a national norm for staffing. This norm states that there should be at least 1 adult for every 3 children aged under 3, and at least 1 adult for every 6 children aged over 3. Norway is an extensive country with a quite widespread population. And when it comes to schools, we can see that we have a significant number of smaller schools because there are many small cities and small townships. And about 28% of our schools have less than 100 pupils. We have a national norm for staffing in schools as well, in primary education, which states that there should be one teacher per every 15 students from first to fourth grade, and one teacher per every 20 students from 5th to 10th grade. Also, we have in secondary education is not mandatory in Norway, but we can. But still, 98% of the students who finish primary school go directly into secondary education. So what does these numbers say or tell us? In Norway, we have different tools for measuring kids, parents, teachers, kindergarten teachers and heads' experiences in kindergartens and schools. And they measure a wide range of daily life and provide information that we can use in our work to prevent bullying, much like Magnus showed us from Sweden earlier. Some of the relevant numbers to highlight in this setting is that in general, parents and children are satisfied with their well-being in kindergartens and schools, and 97% of parents are satisfied with their kids' safety and well-being in kindergarten. And 9 out of 10 children report that they thrive at school, and there's also a quite high number of heads of kindergartens and schools that report that they have good routines and when it comes to bullying and creating a safe school environment, and that their employees have adequate competence to prevent, expose, and fight bullying. Still, when it comes to bullying, we can see that the numbers show us that about 5.8% of the students report being bullied in school in the National Pupils Survey. The numbers from the National Pupils Survey show a slow but small decrease of bullying over the years, and also show that bullying decreases as students get older. As Magnus pointed out earlier, and Morten, grade 9 is also a grade that shows a high number of bullying in Norway. But the rates have remained relatively stable over the last years. We can also see from the survey that 2.2% of the students report being bullied online, which is a significant increase from last year in numbers like this. It's a 0.4 increase. Whether this is specifically related to the corona situation, with more time spent behind computers and screens, remains to be seen. But online bullying continues to be a focal point for researchers and those responsible for implementing national measures. As of now, I mentioned kindergartens earlier and their importance in our work. We have no accepted way of categorizing bullying in kindergartens, but a new report on bullying in kindergartens in Norway states that a number between 6 and 20% of children in kindergartens are exposed to bullying, depending on how you define it. Okay, so that was some numbers, and it was meant to be some background behind the Norwegian policies. The point is not for you to remember all of these numbers, but to say that we have a lot of children in kindergartens and school. We have national norms for staffing, and we have a workforce that, on the whole, reports having adequate competence when it comes to bullying. Still, we have a steady rate of children reporting being bullied. So are we asking the right questions? The answers that I show you here today in the numbers only show us a fraction of the reality, and more importantly, only the answer to the questions that we ask in the surveys. Since we still have a problem with bullying in kindergartens and schools, what are we missing? So moving on from the numbers to some of the national policies and measures that we take in Norway to fight bullying. The Norwegian government, through the Ministry of Education and Integration, which is currently being headed up by Minister of Education and Integration, Guri Melby, which you can see in this picture here, are responsible for implementing a number of policies that strengthen the national framework against bullying. I will go into them in a little bit more detail, but examples on these regulations are, as Magnus said, we have fairly new regulations for kindergarten and school environment. We have a national strategy for competence development in kindergartens and schools, which is meant to raise awareness and competence on bullying, which costs around 130 million Norwegian kroners every year. We have the bullying ombudsman in all counties who work to build local competency and give support to those who have experienced bullying. We have regulations to combat poverty, violence and abuse against children, and strengthening sexual education in kindergartens and schools. And we work to increase cooperation with different health services for a better follow-up of children who experience bullying. Also, we have the Partnership Against Bullying, which is national partnership who has come together to fight against bullying and other harassment. And we have a new national curriculum in schools that came in 2020 that we're currently working with implementing. So starting with the regulations for kindergarten and school environment. In the later years, there's been an introduction to stricter laws in Norway regarding bullying through what we call Chapter 9A in the Education Act from 2017. This law concerns the pupil's school environment, and the Chapter 8 in the Kindergarten Act from 2021, very recently, regarding the psychosocial kindergarten environment. The focus in these laws is on the zero tolerance for violations such as bullying, violence, and discrimination and harassment, and furthermore states the obligation to act to ensure children a good psychosocial kindergarten and school environment. These obligations involve that adults pay attention, take action, inform and investigate and apply suitable measures if a child reports not having a good physical and psychosocial environment conducive to health, well-being and learning. Also in school, in the law regarding school, if a pupil does not have a good psychosocial school environment, the pupil or his or her parents may report the matter to the county governor after first having raised the matter with the head teacher. The county governor in turn investigates and can apply suitable measures if needed. In 2020, 1,189 cases have been reported to the county governor. So quite a high number of cases. In addition to these two acts from the Education Act and the Kindergarten Act, we have the national curriculum for schools with a core curriculum that emphasizes the importance of working systematically with social learning and development. And we have the framework plan for kindergartens that emphasizes the importance of working for preventing and stopping bullying and other types of harassment in kindergartens. So I think it's important to show this as a backdrop because together these laws and regulations contribute to placing this important work on the agenda. And it is the owner level's responsibility to ensure that all employees in kindergartens and schools work alongside these principles. And as we know, what the leaders put on the agenda have a tendency to show itself also in the schools and kindergartens. To develop competence for teachers and kindergarten teachers in kindergarten and schools, we have, as an example, the inclusive preschool and school environment program, which is a competence enhancement program designed to strengthen kindergartens, schools, authorities and owners in promoting a safe environments and prevent, uncover and handle bullying and other harassment. The two programs in the competence enhancement package are aimed at kindergartens and schools, authorities and owners. And the aim is to enhance competence so as to ensure a safe and inclusive environment, free from bullying and other forms of abuse. The inclusive preschool and school environment programs include the session-based program and the learning environment project. The session-based program is aimed at participants who want to work independently with support from local resource personnel, networks, and group sessions. This program consists of national and local workshops, as well as development work in the relevant kindergartens and schools, which receive financial support for resource personnel locally. In addition, a so-called learning network will be established consisting of kindergartens and schools that can work together and support each other in the development work. And the Learning Environment Project is aimed at participants who want external support. The schools in the Learning Environment Project are selected on the basis of the results from the pupil survey. They have challenges over years regarding bullying and safe school environment, and also the county governor's general knowledge of the challenges in the school environment. The kindergartens are involved in prevention, and they are selected on the basis of their location, as to say they are near a school with challenges in the learning environment from the National Pupil Survey. The most important tools in the Learning Environment Project are follow-up from an advisory team on site and competence enhancement for personnel. The participants receive guidance from an advisory team composed of experts from the Norwegian Center for Learning Environment and from the field of practice. We do regular evaluations of these programs, and later evaluations show that the teachers, the heads and the owners that have participated report that they have changed their practice as a result of participating in these programs. As in Sweden, but not quite the same, we also have a national arrangement with the bullying ombudsman. In Norway, the ombudsman against bullying is an institution at the administrative regional governance level with a mandate to serve pupils in primary and lower secondary schools and children in kindergarten. We have local ombudsmen in all 11 counties, and as we speak, there are currently 38 ombudsmen at play, working in kindergartens, primary and lower secondary, and also in upper secondary. The main tasks of the bullying ombudsman is to support children and parents in kindergartens and schools to secure their right to a good physical and psychosocial environment. They are also meant to inform children and parents about their rights to a good physical and psychological environment, relating back to the laws that I started with showing you. One of the main tasks is to help create dialogue in the difficult cases related to children's rights, and to contribute to national and local knowledge about bullying and how these cases are being handled. As you can see, the arrangement is quite new, and it was evaluated in 2020 by Norwegian Social Research. And the evaluation found that the ombudsman helps to ensure that more children experience a safe and benevolent social environment. And the directorate is in the progress of staking out the course for the future of the institution. Another national initiative is DEMBRA, which stands for Democratic Preparedness Against Racism, Anti-Semitism, and Undemocratic Attitudes. This is a program that offers schools guidance, courses, and online resources to prevent different forms of group-based hostility and anti-democratic ideologies. The program is for professional development amongst teachers, school leaders, and other school staff. And based on the school's own circumstances, DEMBRA helps to strengthen the school's work on participation and critical thinking. DEMBRA is meant for and suitable for schools whose leaders and teachers want to take a more systematic approach to critical thinking, democratic development, and inclusion, or if they find that their school has particular challenges or may come to experience particular challenges relating to group-based hostility. Evaluations of the DEMBRA program from 2019 show that the leaders and employees that have attended the program reports that both they as individuals and the school as a whole have benefited from their participation. In our national program for continuing education, we have an offer for school leaders that's called School Environment and Leadership. And these studies focus on necessary competence needed to create a safe and good school environment, preventing bullying and handle bullying and harassment. A similar continuation education offer for leaders in kindergarten is on its way. And as you can see, there are several ways the Norwegian government, through the Directorate, goes forward to make sure that the people that work in kindergarten schools and the leaders have the necessary competence to handle bullying and these very difficult tasks that we meet in schools and kindergartens. But the last measure that I will tell you about is a quite unique partnership that we have formed in Norway, which we call the Partnership Against Bullying. The partnership is a broad coalition between the Norwegian government and 14 national organizations who share a vision of inclusive learning environments free from bullying for all children. The different organizations that you can see here on this screen, they represent the most prominent participants in Norway. We have the student and parents organizations, the teachers and heads organizations, school and kindergarten owners. We have the voluntary sector, the health sector, and also general employees. The partners in the partnership works to prevent bullying by increasing local competence and cooperation for an inclusive kindergarten and leisure and school environment. So not just school or kindergarten, but also, as Magnus pointed out earlier, the importance of also including out of kindergarten and school activities. The partnership's measures include advocacy and capacity building for children's rights, support for local and national projects, and also development of networks and local partnerships against bullying. The partnership is galvanized by the common assertion that all children have the right to a kindergarten, leisure and school environment free from bullying. And all the partners agree that we are a partnership because adults have the responsibility to ensure that all children are safe, and we must cooperate in order to develop a whole education and including formative and learning environment. In the agreement between the partners have committed to 3 overall goals in their work, which you can see before you here now. The first goal is to put all forms for bullying on the agenda. The second is to contribute to the involvement of children in the work for an inclusive, formative and learning environment. And third, to cooperate with relevant partners to develop competence to fight bullying both locally and national. So the partnership works together on a broad scale to try and get measures out locally. And we can reach a lot of the workforce in both kindergartens, schools, and in the voluntary sector through all the partners. Okay, so I've been talking really quickly now, and I'm going to finish up pretty soon, but the measures that I've showed you now are some of the national policies that contribute to strengthening the national framework against bullying. But I would like to end my talk with a frame for our policies. In 2019, UNESCO published the report Behind the Numbers, Ending School Violence and Bullying. And this report, many of you might know it, showed that school violence and bullying is a major global challenge and provided some good recommendations for national policies. And the countries that UNESCO found that have succeeded in reducing school violence and bullying or maintaining quite low prevalence have a number of factors in common. I will not go through all the factors, but I would like to draw your attention to some of them that I hope you recognize from our national measures today. One key factor is to maintain a strong political leadership, a robust legal and policy framework, and consistent policies on violence against children, school violence and bullying, and related issues. Also, they want to draw your attention to the collaboration between the education sector and a wide range of partners at national level, including non-education sector ministries, research institutions, and civil society organizations. Also very important is the training and ongoing support for teachers and mechanisms to provide support and referral to other services for students who have been affected by school violence and bullying. Also, they put forward the effective systems for reporting and monitoring school violence and bullying. And the recommendations that UNESCO makes in this report are, among others, to ensure that legislation is in place to safeguard the rights of children and to underpin policies to prevent and respond to school violence and bullying. Also to train and support teachers to prevent and respond to school violence and bullying, and to promote whole school approaches that engage the wider community, including students, teachers, other staff, parents, and local authorities. And like the institution that Morten represents, it's important to establish child-sensitive reporting, complaint, and counseling mechanism and restorative approaches, which can help after a case has been handled. I hope you can see that in Norway we try to work within these recommendations, and in Norway competence development have had a high priority a long way back, which we get good feedback from schools and kindergartens, and we think it's very important to be able to handle these very challenging situations that we meet in schools and kindergartens. Okay, in the presentation I also have some sources to the different initiatives that I've showed you here today. If you want, I'll talk to Robertus and see if we can send it out later after the presentation. So thank you very much, and that was my time.
For your presentation and for the systemic work, how you are addressing bullying in schools and kindergartens, and it was so clear that you're working on different levels. So you have measures, you have legislative measures, you have institution that is dealing with what you call ombudsman institution in counties. You also have a training system for teachers. So the system looks very well, I would say, full of important components that are needed to work systematically with bullying. I already have several questions, and then I would like to use the opportunity to voice some of them. You mentioned this partnership against bullying, which is an impressive initiative to bring different stakeholders together and to work together towards the same goal. My question is, how did you do that? How it happened that these so different organizations came together? Who initiated this? Could you comment on this?
It's a quite long process, Robertus, and it didn't start out the way that it looks today. It started up as something that we called Manifest Manifest Against Bullying, all the way back in 2011, I think. Yeah, I'll have to check. But this was an initiative from the government after we had a very ugly case that was presented in the newspapers and in the media, and the government said that now we are going to create school environments and kindergarten environments that do not have bullying, zero tolerance, and by 2015 there should be no more bullying in schools. Now we know that didn't happen, but the government then got 3 different of the organizations on board and started the work slowly but steady. And as the years went, we started to invite and inform more and more of the organizations that you can see are members today. And we also changed the way the partnership works from being talking about bullying and talking about the national measures to actually make the partners contribute locally and try to make the things we do in the partnership hit the schools and the kindergartens locally. So it's I think that in order to see that all the organizations that we have member of the partnership today, it's been really important that the government has been the initiating partner from the beginning, because then it's on the agenda, and it shows that the government means serious business in the work against bullying, and also to see that the measures that the partnership tries to implement has the ability to make a difference locally. I think that's been really important for the partners that have been coming on in later years.
Thank you. And as I know, a Partnership Against Bullying is a co-organizer of the World Anti-Bullying Forum. So Norwegian and Swedish organizations are joining forces in organizing that world event. I guess
we work with Magnus and Frida in France, and are organizing or at least co-hosting the World Anti-Bullying Forum, and so we will also hope to see many of you there. We will the Partnership Against Bullying will have a 2-hour workshop that will talk about some of the new initiatives in bullying, and especially in Scandinavia, and the new views on bullying.
Yes, and the time is running too fast, but I have more questions, but one very brief. When you spoke about bullying ombudsman institution, and in 11 counties you have those ombudspersons, do they initiate legal investigations, legal cases against someone or somebody?
No, as I said, the system which is based on the law is the system that makes sure that the law is being upheld. And if the bullying ombudsman have no like in Sweden, as Martin said, they can initiate cases and to the court, but the bullying ombudsman do not have that kind of authority. But they try to work with the local schools and school owners and authorities, and give them guidance on how to uphold the law. So brief answer is no, they do not, but the system has.
So thank you once again. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing this experience that you have in Norway. I hope that there will be chances to continue the conversation on the next, on some other occasions. So thank you again.